Once a month this fall, we will explore one of life's most important questions. They come from reflections in a book called How Then Shall We Live by Dr. Wayne Muller. Dr. Muller posits that there are really only 4 questions we need to answer in life. Who am I? What do I love? How will I live knowing I will die? And what is my gift to the family of the earth? Each of us spends our lives trying to figure out how we want to answer these questions for ourselves. So today we ask, who am I? Do I have peace like a river? Am I a jealous person? Do I feel joy and happiness? Is this a time in my life when I feel bogged down? Who am I? That question just won't go away no matter our age or stage in life. It's a question that holds a sense of expectation for our life in the future because we're always evolving. Who I am now is not who I'm going to be tomorrow or next year or in the next decade. Almost 2,500 years ago, the philosopher Socrates wrote that an unexamined life is not worth living. The answers we discover as we examine our lives will determine what we do with our lives, whether or not we make decisions in keeping with our values and ethics, and also the communities we choose to help us to continue creating a meaningful life. For most of human history, people were known by the tribe or clan to which they belonged. Connection meant survival. For most of human history, the question of who am I was answered by one's place in family or society, in some countries by caste, in some countries by, class. Sometimes small towns, we live in a small town, still feel like that. How many of us have been asked, what church do you attend? They usually have a tract in their back pocket to give you if you say the wrong answer. But this is an ancient way to ask, what tribe are you from? Traditionally, every person knew his or her place in the community and also knew that they belonged. Yet many of us have discovered that family, tribe, community, and faith of origin don't define who we are. We become who we are through a process of self-actualization. If we don't question, we can't progress in our self-actualization. But sadly, this may separate us, at least religiously, or today perhaps politically, from our family of origin. It may mean that we're not separated, but it may mean that we need to do some work on ourselves so that we can learn how to create healthy boundaries. Most of us found our way here because we chose to free ourselves from the expectations of family, legacy, or religion. At some point, there was a stirring inside us that told us we needed to find our own way. And this week, I had an interesting conversation with some campus minister colleagues where we talked about the power of those adolescent years. I mean, how many of us, when we were in middle school or high school, decided this is not what I believe. This is not who I want to be. When we feel that stirring, we decided, either then or maybe even later, that we wanted to create a meaningful life that was grounded in our chosen ethics and beliefs. A path that honored the things that give us joy and inspire us. We found that we needed to walk our own path with kindred souls who could understand our longing to become our true selves. Finding friends and having a supportive community that can help us reflect on who we are is essential, because it's hard to live into our questions in isolation. Our community can encourage us as we grapple with and explore new beliefs and thoughts about what gives us meaning and joy. As UUs, we affirm a lifetime of learning, but it's sometimes anxiety producing to have a faith without certainty, especially as we move into a new place in our lives where who we were doesn't quite fit with who we're becoming. It's sometimes uncomfortable to have the responsibility for doing our own homework to figure out who we want to be. There are days when I think we all long for certainty. There are times when we just want easy answers, or perhaps we're at that place in our lives where we feel like we're in that gelatinous space between the caterpillar and the butterfly. I've sure felt that way a few times. All the possibility is there without any definition. To grow into who we're becoming means we need to carve out time to be with ourselves. Now, I think everyone in here could say, I don't have any more time to do anything else. But if we really want to understand who we are in a deep and profound way and become a friend, perhaps our best friend, then we need to make some time. We need to get quiet. We need to have time each day when we put the cell phones down, ignore life's distractions, and observe what thoughts and memories that arise. These can give us a clue to what we want to hold as a core part of who we are, as well as the recurring mind traps that we need to leave behind as we emerge into a new self. Some of the stuff we need to let go of is our tendency to define ourselves by the expectations and labels that other people put on us, as well as the labels and expectations we put on ourselves. Too often, we allow old hurts and traumas to shape and define who we are. As we move toward becoming a fully self-actualized person, we find that some labels are very helpful. We want to stick those all over us because they remind us of our gifts, our strengths, of who we really are, or they help us realize how we can heal. Other labels that we take into our psyches hurt or damage our self-esteem. We can become shaped by the negative limits others put on us or that we put on ourselves. We give ourselves labels that define us, I'm a child from an alcoholic family, a cancer survivor, rape victim, drug addict. I'm in recovery. I'm mentally ill. These labels may be true, but they're not all of who we are. The challenge comes when we take that label and internalize it, allowing it to define who we are. We become known then by those labels. When not addressed, the labels or hardships we experienced from early life or maybe even last month can stay with us and shape our relationships, our responses to people, our personal worldview and self-image. We need to let that stuff go. It's part of you, but it isn't your essence. When I was serving in the Athens congregation, a friend, who's now 97, she was in her 70s then, a friend was asked to be the annual breast cancer survivor poster child. She was indignant. She was polite, but she was indignant. Though she's always contributed generously to cancer research groups, she was clear that she did not allow herself to be labeled by the cancer she had had. She said to me, "That's not who I am." She said, "I've moved on and I don't want to have my illness as a key part of my self-identity." She was not bound by what had happened. She did her deep psychological exploration during her recovery, and she moved on. And at 97, she continues to explore who she is from a much broader framework of living. She leads a covenant group in her assisted living in Connecticut now. One of the things that's important for us to do the inner work of discovering who we are is that if we don't, we continue to return to those old self-images, those old labels. Then when challenges occur, as they certainly will, it's easy to forget that what helped us cope before may not be healthy for us now. My friend Michael, near the end of his long life, said to me more than once, each of us has a learned line in which we return, to which we return when our lives are challenging. I think of the learned line as that core message we learned early on. It could be that we are loved and protected. It could be that we feel abandoned. It could be that we're not good enough. It could have to do with our body image. Our learned line is shaped by the time we're 3 or 4. If our learned line is positive, then bless you, and that is wonderful. But there's some of us who had childhoods and lessons that we don't want to work for us as adults. Shifting and releasing that old immature mindset is part of what we need to examine as we grow into who we want to be. This is a core part of our work. We can reset our learned line in a way that affirms who we are now. An example of how even if we've rewritten that learned line, sometimes we revert. My friend Don explains it this way. Now, you need to know that Don is in his mid-70s. He's a UU community minister and is a marriage and family therapist. He also teaches at the School of Social Work at the University of Georgia. We were talking some time back, just before he went to visit his parents, and he said, "You know, I'm in my 60s, but it only takes me about 2 hours being with my parents to revert to 9 years old." While he has done a great deal of work on who he is, like the rest of us, there are those moments when he, like we, just revert to our own patterns. I think the best response to that is, whoops, there I go again, and laugh. Perhaps one of our tasks as we seek to understand who we are is to develop daily reflection time or journaling time. With each new day, we need to take time, even a few moments, to nurture the healthy, joyful parts of our being, and then to redirect our thoughts when we find ourselves being too hard on ourselves. Of course, this isn't a simple process. In fact, when we're intentional about looking within at our motivations for our thoughts and actions, we just might find our work for self-understanding and acceptance is some of the hardest work and some of the most courageous work we will ever do. It means taking the courageous step to let go of the messages that don't serve us anymore so that we can become who we want to be with joy and peace. Perhaps it even means letting go of relationships that are not healthy for us so that we can experience a transformation of heart and mind, so that we can take care of ourselves. One of the teaching stories of the Buddha reminds us to let go of old ways of living. The Buddha said to his students that there was a man on a journey. You know, we're all on a journey. The man comes to a river that's treacherous on his side of the river, but the other shore looks calm and without danger. There's no bridge to cross, so the man builds a raft so he can cross the water. He gathers the material, he builds the raft, and then with his hands and feet, he crosses over the river and makes it to the other side. He's safe. He thinks, this raft has been a great help to me. With its help, I've crossed safely to this side. It would be good if I carry this raft on my head or on my back wherever I go, so I'll be safe. Now, hearing the story, it seems logical that the boat would be put down. There's not any water where he's going. But do we? Too often we keep old, useless definitions of who we are, the heavy baggage that we carry around that no longer serves us. Self-knowledge includes knowing when to let go, and through that discernment and self-awareness, we become more ourselves. So if we are to truly answer the question, who am I? We have to be intentional about reflecting on our lives and interactions throughout the day. When we make a decision, take a moment to reflect on it. Am I making this decision because others want me to make it? Or am I doing this because it's the easy decision, even though it goes against what I believe? As we go through the day, let us ask ourselves, who am I this morning? Who am I as I interact with family, with friends? Who am I when I talk to others? Am I kind? Do I hold a grudge? Am I jealous? Can I love deeply? Do I know how to forgive? Do I like myself? What emotions arise in different interactions? How do I feel about myself at the end of the day? How we answer these questions, the ones that are clear or the ones that bubble up, this is fodder for who we are becoming, how we're going to adapt and expand our lives. Every faith and philosophical system encourages us to remember who we are. Whether we hear the Buddhist teaching about humans having a Buddhist seed within, or earth-centered traditions reminding us of our connection to the earth, or Jesus reminding us that we are the light of the world. Knowing ourselves means affirming a core sense of our unique presence on the earth, the gift of our being, and the gift of others. Pablo Casals wrote, when will we teach our children in school what they are? We should say to each of them, do you know who you are? You are a marvel. You are unique. In all the world, there is no child exactly like you. In the millions of years that have passed, there has never been another child like you. And look at your body. What a wonder it is. Your legs, your arms, your cunning fingers, the way you move. You may become a Shakespeare, a Michelangelo, a Beethoven. You have the capacity for anything. Yes, you are a marvel. And when you grow up, can you then harm another who, like you, is also a marvel? Who I am is both a process of looking back on who we've been and looking forward to who we want to be. It's an inner journey, and it's an outer journey in relationship with others. It may be that we didn't have someone help us when we were young to figure out that we were special, that we were a marvel. But together in this community, we can stand beside one another, journey with one another, so that we know we are seen for who we truly are. So let us take the time to remind one another of the marvel that each of us truly is. In knowing how precious we are, let us discover together the answer to the question, who am I? And may all that we do and all that we say help build lives for ourselves that are lived in love and compassion for ourselves and others. Blessed be.